start off with a brief intro about Janet and also why we do this. So, Janet, some of us in this community of coaches are on a mission, I would say, to get us back to reading, writing, and writing, which is necessary to reflecting, which you highlight in the book. And also, some of us, including me, we are aspiring authors too. So, if you know, the data is cheapest in India, I'm told. So we are a very distracted population, right? Thanks to the cheaper data. So we are trying to rediscover the beauty and the joy of reading. This is typically restricted to our alumni coaches, but this is the first time we are opening to the outside community. So that some of the members here are not our alumni coaches. We are experimenting this, and we thought more people should listen to you. And with your permission, we're recording this so that those who are not able to join live have the privilege of listening. A quick intro. Janet needs no introduction, but it's my pleasure and honor to introduce Janet. By the way, I shared this on the first session, the first Wednesday of the month, that I started my coaching journey in 2013 January. 2014, we had started the mentoring program with Janet. Six of us from India and few others from other geographies. So that's where I know I was very lucky that I could meet one of the thought leaders in this space very early in my coaching career. So when I got to know that she was traveling to Dubai as a keynote speaker of an ICF conclave, Janet 2014, if you remember, I
I
said,
do.
at least to meet her, I should go. And I traveled to Dubai, where I got to, and within the community, I shared our group photo also, Janet. Uh, now, we are a group of over 500 plus coaches who have gone through our programs, Janet, and a lot of inspiration I personally draw from you for sure. Uh, and we are creating a community of coaches which are different also, right? And that's why this book club is an integral part of that. The community nurturing. That's the background of the book club and my own personal connect with Janet. Brief intro about Janet. She is a pioneering author, a very popular speaker. She is back in Riyadh in October, again at an ICF conclave. A very popular educator, a practicing coach like some of us, and of course CEO of Invite Change. It's a global leader in human development services. She's been in this space for over 30 years, has clocked something like 12,000 hours of coaching, and has helped a lot of big organizations to unlock their full potential through generative wholeness. Now, those of us who have read the book know what she means with generative wholeness. Under her leadership, Invite Change has partnered with global brands like Amazon, Microsoft, Boeing, and a lot of other similar organizations. She is an MCC, a former ICF global president, a thought leader, who continues to inspire coaching fraternity globally. And I think you still hold a leadership position in ICF Foundation, do you? Yes, right.
I'm now a
As president.
fellow or society member or something.
Yeah. So she was
But yeah, still
active,
actively involved.
very actively involved. Yeah. And that's Janet for you. And anything you want to add, Janet, before we jump in with a few questions leading?
No, really my gratitude, Subash. It's been a joy to witness what you have constructed with Regal Unlimited and building your community and your commitment to excellence and quality. I find myself a little bit concerned about where we are headed with coaching right now. So much of the conversation is around uh, the fascination, I'll put it that way, with artificial intelligence and what will the relationship be between an AI coach and a human coach, and the conversation misses the point, in my opinion. And some of this is in the book that at the end of the day, all humans require connection and an opportunity to grow. It is really that simple. And that will never be replaced. Those two things, those two needs will never be replaced by technology. Might get amplified, might get activated. It can be a wonderful resource, but it is not a replacement. And the need for us to develop in the way that you are leading is exactly what the world needs right now. So thank you. Gratitude to be here and that you've chosen to explore with me this morning for me, the evening for you.
Thank you.
And we'll see where it goes.
Sure. A couple of questions before I hand over to Prakash. We have some questions from the group that Anupama and Shweta will handle after Prakash. Then we'll open it for the group. We'll try to manage time. So the first question is, what prompted you to choose this heading, tension to transformation?
It goes back to really a very early time in my life. My parents were very active in politics. I grew up in the middle of the United States in Missouri, state Missouri, St. Louis. And I did my first political act. It was a mailing for a county supervisor, so a local role. 500-piece mailing. I did all the letter folding. I put the stamps on the envelopes. I put the labels on the envelopes. I licked them and I put them in zip code order. And I proudly took them upstairs for somebody to take them to the post office. I was 5 years old. And I say the story because that's how things get done, right? It's the little things that matter. It's the commitment we make to have something be better. And everybody does it in a little bit different way. But what I learned at the seat of my parents, who were very active in politics in the Midwest, was that conflict often got in the way. And I always had this fascination with why. Like, we know really early on when something is in the way. What has us ignore it? What has us choose silence and tolerance of tension until it blows up? And people say the same thing about change. I wrote about this in the first book a little bit. Like, what is this fascination we have with not liking change? People love to tell the story of, oh, it's hard, it's so horrible. Well, our bodies change constantly. Mother Nature changes constantly. We're living in a system that is, by definition, in transformation on an ongoing basis. So we set up this tension, this strong emotional field that says no. Why? I still don't have the answer to that. And it's really the story behind why the company is called Invite Change. When I started my first company, I called it Clarity, Clarity International, because I could see that people needed space to pull back for perspective. And without it, they didn't realize how much they were in a habit space, um, unconsciously operating out of a set of filters, even when it made them uncomfortable. And they were tolerating the tension they were in until they got fired because they actually did something that sabotaged their career. The seed of that sabotage was much earlier, and it was known. So all of you here have had some professional life. I happen to know Subhash's leadership role. So I know you know about somebody who was in an exit interview or maybe was getting fired. It was the conversation where they're getting relieved. And the person looked you right in the eye and said, "This is such a gift to me. It's time for me to go." Every person who leaves an organization knows it, and they knew it well in advance. So I'm giving you these examples on purpose to say the nature of the work we do as coaches is internal. We will never know as much as the person we're sitting with knows about who they are. What we can help them do is tell the truth compassionately, respectfully, and to help them find the power of choice again, to listen to what is needed to be honored inside of them. And it's the simple acts every day where did this create more tension or did this relieve tension? Am I in a state of flow or am I stalled? Or worse yet, pushing up against something I used to say to one of my teams when I was first in people management role, I said, if you feel like you're rolling a snowball uphill in a mudslide, you are. Just stop. And let's have a conversation. There's clearly another way we want to go with this. To normalize that you don't have to suffer, that's a choice. Stop.
Viktor Frankl, right? Between the trigger and the
Yeah.
response. Yeah. So before I hand over, there's one more question that's top of my mind. You made a comment on that. 30 years into coaching, where do we stand now globally, Janet? Because it's different in different geographies. I know a little bit what is happening in this part of the world, but I mean, you look at it globally. How do you see that coaching as a profession now?
The fact that I've been around a long time gives me a little bit of an advantage. I often think about systems like, do you know the musical instrument called an accordion? Where you push and it makes a sound, and then you pull it out to get air, and then you push to give it sound. So metaphorically, this is what systems do. They compress because it feels out of control and chaotic. Get to simplicity, go a little smaller, get clear about work streams, and then it feels too constraining. It's time for innovation. And we let the air in and we expand out. Coaching has done this, absolutely. And if you look at the journey in North America, and then it went to Europe, and then it went to where did it go? It didn't go anywhere for a little while,
Yes.
right? It kind of stagnated. And then we said, well, maybe, and we came to India. Well, maybe, and we went to South America. And then it stagnated again. And then it went to Africa. Australia has always been doing its own beat of things.
Yes.
So if you just think about the history of it, it's the same feeling. What was happening in human society that necessitated the notion that having a partner to think through the choices you're making, whether a leader in an organization or in your personal life, was a useful thing and it was acceptable, right? No baggage like we often see with more clinical oriented activities. Or I have a couple of large organizations right now. Their culture has a habit when they have too much tension, they hire an outside consultant. They spend millions of dollars, and the people inside the organization say to themselves, if they would just listen to us, we could have told them what was going on. Why are we spending millions of dollars on a third party consultant? So I think that coaching is progressing. I think that AI is going to force the conversation about coaching being a developmental practice, that its purpose is in awakening more wholeness on a continuous basis, individually, in teams, in systems, in industries, in society, in any domain, economics, education, ecology, doesn't matter. We could talk about all of them. That the application of coaching, it's an agent, it's not an engine. The engine is still human society, human systems, human teams. Coaching is an activator, a catalyst, and it works because it doesn't have an agenda other than to awaken. You all saw this in the book, but I have always said coaching is about awakening consciousness, and I hold coaching with a little c. So you'll see in more developed economies that there is a lot of blending going on. I don't have any heartburn about that, other than are we ethically clear with the client about what they're purchasing? If what the client will benefit from is some combination of consulting and mentoring and education and training and coaching, great. Give them the buffet, but be clear about where their authority is in that relationship. Because ultimately, we're not going to be there forever. We want something to sustain. And the only way that happens is from the inside of the individual or the team that we're working with. So I think it's quite healthy. It feels a little chaotic and confusing at the moment, but if you look at the long body of the 30 years, we have consistently grown. We've had moments when it's been exponential and then a plateau, and then starts to grow again, takes another big leaf, and then a plateau. Perfectly normal. This is what all systems do. We happen to be, I think, at the edge of a bit of a plateau because of the uncertainty. Tech stack is going to change so dramatically. And I say stack on purpose. I don't know how many of you have inventoried just how many technologies you use to run your business. It's substantial. It's not just email anymore, right? So our attention is distracted from the thing that matters, which is what's pulling us in the belly, what's pulling us from the heart. How is the body responding to the complexity that we're navigating? Without that getting some time to settle, we won't have the next growth stretch. But it's coming because we're moving out of individualism into collectivism, into much more multiplicity, not singularity. And how do we simplify being with multiplicity without losing the essence of what collective work is all about? That's a big subject we don't need to do
Thank you.
today,
Yeah,
but
but
where my
I,
brain's going.
I know. Thank you for that. 30,000 feet view of the industry. Yeah. Prakash, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Subhash. Janet, once again, pleasure to have you here at the book club. I want to start by sharing with you a quote from a book uh, about India by Paul Brenton. I'm sure you would have had a chance to read it. There is a very interesting chapter about Ramana Maharshi. And he's quoting Ramana Maharshi saying, "What is the use of knowing about everything else when you do not know who you are? Men avoid this enquiry into the true self. But what else is there so worthy to be undertaken?" I hope this resonates well with your book.
It does. I hope that it resonates with every person here. I think this is the work. There are many traditions that speak of the soul contract that a body comes into planet Earth with, and that we come in forgetting everything about what happened before to our souls. And in the process of living a human life, we are uncovering more and more and more and more of that magnificence. And we couldn't handle all of it at once. So there's no shame, there's no problem, there's no weakness, there's no doubt or uncertainty about the fact that we skin our knees and, fall on our chin and have hard experiences. They're all part of what we're remembering about being human. And I think that this quote is beautiful, and I have heard it before. I did not know the book it came from, so thank you for that, Prakash.
Right.
And um, this is our work as coaches, first for ourselves, because you cannot go with someone where you have not chosen to go in yourself. You won't see it. You simply cannot. Your mirror neurons will not resonate with another human being about what they are experiencing unless you've had a similar experience yourself, not contextually, but at the level of your belief system and your values. So your work is your work. You cannot have a livelihood as a coach without doing your personal work and knowing self. And through that, then you have compassion and empathy and desire to awaken that in another person.
Excellent. So that's a uh, great way to kind of ask you a further question about Eastern and Western philosophy. I heard you speak in one of your podcasts saying that when you started to unravel the seven tensions of leadership, it was probably synthesized out of largely Western thought and Western experiences. And you said, if I remember it right, Eastern philosophy is more reflective. So my question to you is, how can these two worlds actually collaborate?
I've always thought about East and West as yin and yang. The I Ching is a wonderful body of work and set of practices. And, um, one of the things, Prakash, in the book that I thought was super important, and it took a little while with my editor to figure out how to articulate it well, but I kept asking leaders, we talk about reflection all the time. Do you have any idea what it is? And many leaders would finally tell the truth and say, no, I have no idea what it is. I know you want me to think about something. I'm like, so how do you choose what you're thinking about? And I think in the East, the traditions in the East are so rooted in silence, in the noticing of one's environment and one's internal experience in relationship to the environment. These are practices and a belief system and a philosophy that you grow up with. The West didn't. Somehow the West lost that message, and their message is about do until exhausted, to then come back home and realize, oh, silence. In fact, I was having this. I had an introduction to somebody who's been teaching meditation for 30 years here in the West, and she wanted to give me an example of her work, and I got on the other side of it. It was wonderful work, by the way, and she said, "You have an extraordinary ability to be fully present in silence." Which I took as a great acknowledgement. Many years developed, I can tell you that. It was certainly not where I started. And this is my experience when I'm working with students from all of Asia Pacific, that the ease with which reflection occurs for you. But here's the catch. When you want to put what you've reflected on into action, that's more challenging. So it's yin and yang. Not right, not wrong, right? It's the suchness of our rootedness and how we've chosen to express it. And when we catch the judgment, right? So the chapter on deliberate judgment is also there on purpose to say there is nothing wrong with the surfacing of judgment. It is discernment. It's when we are judgmental and act out of the judgments that we run afoul of unconditional self love, because that's ultimately what we are compromising when we act out of our judgmental feelings. So it's both are required. Yes, the noticing that comes out of the stillness and the action, choosing, because I've discerned yes to this and no to that is most honoring to me. Not it's right and it's wrong. It's not a dualistic approach. It's a holistic approach. It's unity, which the body figured out a long time ago, but our brains haven't quite caught up with.
Right. Excellent. So let us do a little bit of deep dive into the book now.
Sure.
And if I were to kind of summarize the book, it's really about pausing, noticing, becoming more aware, and then figuring out how to recreate our actions. Like you rightly said right now about yin and yang, right?
Yeah.
And then the cycle, of course, kind of continues. Take action again, and then figure out what is working, and go back and again reflect. Right. Now, this whole purpose of reflection that you kind of alluded to right now, saying that maybe it is easy to reflect. I don't know. And maybe the acting part is really the hard one. So first question is, how do you actually reflect? How do you overcome barriers to reflection?
So I broke reflection down into 3 little micro skills, and have been delighted at watching leaders who finally tell the truth. I don't know what the heck reflection is. Have a lot of fun with it, because the story they were telling themselves was that reflection takes a lot of time, and I don't have a lot of time, so I'm not going to do that. And I asked myself the question, where did I learn reflection? And I realized it was as an athlete. I was a competitive figure skater in my youth, and my coach would always have me sit on the bench and visualize the entire routine to the music in my head. And then out loud, I would describe what I was going to do. And then he would often ask me questions about a particular jump or spin or sequence of footwork and that I had not gotten right, and would have me talk through it in the way that we thought was the optimal. And then I would go and skate to the music, and then I would come back and he would have me say it out loud. What had I just done?
Mhm.
So that was reflection. And it was in the moment, and it was connected to a purpose, and it was connected to my desire to have something get better, connected to self, connected to the music, connected to the technique. And I realized this is what we've so overcomplicated it, and we've made it a transaction. Reflection is like breathing.
Mhm.
So the first is noticing that my attention is no longer where I started. I've
Mhm.
I've sat down to have breakfast and I'm eating my oatmeal unconsciously because my attention is looking out the window at the eagle that just went by in the window. And then my attention went to leadership. There's a meeting later today. Oh, I don't have that flyer ready that I wanted for that particular meeting, right? And we're all over the map. We're no longer in the delicious moment of eating nourishment and the blueberries that just came out of the grounds that I bought yesterday at the market, right? We've lost the moment. We're not present to it. All right, so I've noticed that my attention's been pulled away. Then the question is, what was valuable about the shift in my attention? Not what was the problem, what was valuable? Something in me wanted my attention to be drawn away. What is it indicating for me? Step three. And who might I speak to about it? I have amazing insights that come completely out of context because I'm not obsessing about it. My intuition has some time to catch up with me. Oh, that's the person I need to talk to. That's the question I need to ask them. So the process of reflection is normalizing the distraction. It's not a
Mhm.
problem. It's our system, our human system catching our attention, that there's more here than we're actually seeing. And until, right, this is a very Indian idea, until we can see all that is actually occurring, we will make mistake after mistake after mistake. Mistake is defined by insufficient information to have based my decision. So we get to conflict instead of noticing the tension from the very beginning. This is the relationship between tension and reflection.
Right, right. Excellent. Now, just staying on the topic of reflection, um, is there anything that you would advise coaches or leaders to do as a ritual? Would you say that do it when there is tension, or do it at the end of the day, or do it at the end of the week? What's a what's the first step to starting this journey?
So the first step will be unique to each person. As coaches, it's important to ask a series of questions to help the person identify where are they on their journey of recognizing that something is happening. That's really generic. Let's see if we can get that a little more specific. That I'm uncomfortable in certain relationships or in certain contexts or with certain content. How do they know that? If they can't answer that question, where are the places in your life, context, content, relationship, that you find yourself most uncomfortable? If they can't answer that question, all right, we got to go back a step. You might have to go back two or three steps. And the first step for that person is going to be noticing.
Mm.
For this week, until I see you again, throughout the day, notice when your attention gets distracted and write down who are you with? what are you talking about? And how does it fit in your scope of work or whatever it is that we're there for coaching on?
Right.
Then I might also have them do some work on Lifeline. What are the seminal moments in your life that have framed what you claim today to be your core values and principles for living your life? So a little bit of essence retrieval work, if you will. And then we have a conversation about those two things.
Mhm.
What is the distraction in your attention foreshadowing for you as the next step on your journey, the change that you're seeking, what you're longing for? Wow, I never thought about it like that. Now we have opening. Now we have internal coherence. So now the next step might be, what would be a more purposeful way for you to notice when your attention drifts? Let's say that this person is seeking a promotion and they can't seem to get the attention of their boss.
Mhm.
No matter how much their results are proving that they're excellent, their boss doesn't seem to care about the thing that they are producing. Okay, what are you paying attention to? Well, I'm paying attention to my results. Exactly. What else could you be paying attention to? Well, I could be paying attention to what my boss pays attention to. Yeah, but you'd be guessing.
Mhm.
What else could you pay attention to? Oh, what about what does the organization value? All right, that's getting interesting. What prompted that to surface for you? So notice my questions are taking them back each time inside of them. Where are the habits, preferences, assumptions, and biases that are blocking them from seeing all that is actually occurring?
Right.
And from there, they can make some different sets of choices. But it'll be the same reflection technique. The micro skills will still be there. What's capturing your attention? Now put it in context to what you're wanting, aspiring to produce or change. Learn, grow, and change. All coaching is that. And then what does that suggest you're seeking? What curiosity do you have that you don't have the answer inside of yourself for? What question will you ask and of whom in order to further your understanding of the full picture of the system you're operating in?
Right.
And of course, this can get more complex as we go. This individual might get the promotion and then they're going, what do I do when I'm sitting at the table with these people that I've held on a platform forever as untouchable? Well, as far as I know, they put their clothes on just like you do every morning. So, what inside of you is pulling your attention to, I don't measure up? Do you realize you just got a promotion? I think you earned your seat at the table. Will you give yourself permission to be at the table? Will you embody the seat at the table? And we have a whole new layer of reflection that will be deeper internally and starting to examine where might some of your belief system be out of date with the human you've become? What must you believe to behave differently so you can have the experience that you're longing for? So
Right.
think of it as a spiral. Same micro skills, right? We're meeting the client where they have capacity to listen to themselves. That will
Mhm.
grow over time and when we're disciplined about it. And you can't take them to this is sort of the many stories about going to a guru or to a mystic or some kind of spiritual direction, and the individual who is in the leadership role won't disclose the keys to the kingdom because the
Right.
person isn't ready to hear it. That's not our judgment to make. It's our curiosity to have. What are you available for? What will you choose to consider, examine, um, experiment with? This
Right.
is one of the key distinctions in coaching as a modality from some of the other ways in which humans grow.
Right. Fantastic. I mean, I think that's a deep layering and spiraling upwards that you have kind of outlined. Um, if I were to ask you one more follow-up question, and you had this. I mean, one of the chapters that we all really enjoyed was the seven dilemmas of a leader. And prior to that, you had this great exercise which you just mentioned. Go back in time, figure out what values did you imbibe based on your own experiences,
Yes.
and what can you actually keep today for the new you, and what you need to discard. And then look at this great chapter of seven dilemmas. Uh, I mean, I think one of the things which I really wanted to ask you is, if you were to really look at all the seven dilemmas, is there one particular favorite that you have?
I love the question, and no, the answer is no. The simple answer is no. The reason it's no may be informative for all of you. What I had set out to do was to discover if there were some common tensions that all leaders, regardless of industry and stage of career, experienced. So those seven are that. Before I had done the research to put those in place, I was playing with a core human tension, which is the difference between performance and sovereignty. Sovereignty is defined as accepting responsibility for an inner authority to choose how we relate to the conditions of our lives. I need both. The idea of tension is not either or. I require sovereignty. I require performance. The ratio of the two might be different depending on the context I'm in and what I'm seeking to accomplish and who I'm doing it with. So I'm thinking about a conversation I had just yesterday with a leader, Asia-based company, operating subsidiary in the United States, a team that is being spotlighted to make a big exponential leap, and they're sitting in the tension between uncertainty and responsibility.
Mhm.
And I said, let's look at it a little different. Un-dash certain and response dash able. Let's think about that for a minute. We stand behind uncertainty as the reason we can't get anything done right now. Aren't we all experiencing this? Clients are saying, oops, sorry, budgets are frozen. We're standing behind uncertainty, even though we are responsible. So we're way tilted. Instead of realizing undash certain means there are some things that are certain and some things that are not. What is certain? Oh, I'm now bringing my response able self into the equation. I am able to discern what is certain. I am able to deploy resources to do certain things, right? That just the conversation was 15 minutes, bringing those two things that are being held in tension. And all of a sudden, the leader went, all right, that's what needs to change in the conversation that we're having for this meeting today.
Right.
So it is the acknowledgement that the tension is there. That's not what we want to worry about. We want to understand, what is this dynamic? What are you setting in place that has you install? Because the answer is in the middle. There's some ratio, 60-40, 70-30, whatever it is. There's a third thing that happens when we look at it more systemically. And in this case, this example that I'm giving you, what he realized was their conversation has been all about what they couldn't do. They haven't been talking about what they can do. That is their sweet spot, their unique position, their capability that their competitors don't have.
Right.
And from that activates creativity.
Right.
So, any one of the seven will spawn something that is unique and specific in a moment in time. So you don't need to get stuck on the seven. They were the things that came out of the research, but we're setting up two things not as a paradox and not as polarity. I'm not talking about either one of those, but what is our experience that has us thinking we can't move, that the tension has paralyzed us. When in fact, it's just not the case. Through reflection and recognizing what we've put in tension, in that moment, we know we created it, which means we can uncreate it and recreate it.
Right.
And that's what we're activating.
Yeah, fantastic. You had that wonderful exercise, the somatic exercise that you outline in the book, which kind of makes us crystal clear when we are reading the book that this is not either or. It is somewhere in the middle, right?
Good. I'm glad that was useful. I think the body is so wise, and we don't listen to it enough. I was actually raised in the school of thought that thoughts created emotions, created action or movement in the body. I think that's dead wrong. I think my body knows way earlier and it creates emotion that then my head makes sense of. And spirit probably knew all of that too, but just thinking about being an ordinary human.
Right.
And I think that the lifeline exercise has a physical component to it. So much of what we remember about our past life, we remember because of our sensory system. And the more that we can help clients quiet, to bring the memory forward, not in the words of it, but can you feel something on your skin? Is there an aroma associated with it? Was there a sound that you remember in your life at that moment in time? Like, how many of you know that when I hear this particular piece of music, it takes me right back to this year, and this is who I was with, and this is what was going on? Well, that's the sensory system
Right.
keeping something alive that's now at the essence of who we are.
Absolutely. I'm mindful of time. So I'm just going to hold back. There are some more questions that I wanted to ask you, but I'm just going to pass over to Anupama. I think there are a lot of audience questions, so I would like them to take a shot at
Maybe we do it again.
it.
Yeah, why not?
Your questions are very thoughtful. I appreciate them very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Prakash, for asking all those wonderful questions and those enlightening answers, Janet. And Prakash, thank you once again for holding the space for us for almost 1 month with each chapter. So, truly grateful for that. So, I have quite a few questions, but I've just taken based on my understanding. And I had a question myself about the somatic work, which mostly got covered. But I just wanted to ask, and I'm curious about Janet. Was it a moment then when you recognized about the body, or it was like you were born with it? That intuition that you have, because I felt it initially when you said that increasing the tension, or is it taking you back? I see that movement in your body. So where did it come from, and what can we do to cultivate further as coaches?
So I'm chuckling because this is one of those, oh my God, it's been in front of me my entire life and I didn't see it. And it was the ask from clients that had me start to consider, huh, I have a natural kinesthetic way of understanding my world.
Hmm.
Uh, I was verbal at 6 months old. I was walking well in advance of when I should have been. I was climbing trees, and in fact, my husband tells a story. When we moved to where I live now in the Pacific Northwest, he wanted to show me the 500-year-old cedar tree, which was great. And we're walking in the forest, and I just hop up on a log and go scampering across. It's a 14-foot gully. He's thinking to himself, who is this woman, and how did she just do that? Well, I'm in my body. I've always been in my body. I was swimming at 4 years old. I started skating at 6 years old. I have always been in my body, but I never thought of myself as kinesthetic. I thought of myself as intuitive. It was all heart-based for me. It was so the air I breathed that it never occurred to me that other people didn't do that. So when I became a coach educator, and I'm now trying to transfer this skill set to adults, learners, I'm realizing they're all stuck in their head. They're never going to be able to have the presence necessary to partner. We have to do something. So we created all kinds of silent activities, um, sitting back to back, sensing into the other person, and seeing what word would surface. 5 minutes of silence while they did this exercise. 6 out of 8 times, they had the same word. Blew their minds. Oh my God, how does that happen? Well, of course it happens. That's mirror neurons. We had them do that in terms of walking in a room silently and noticing what was it that caused them to connect. 7%, that's all. In communication, that's the words. 7%, people. You are not responding to what I'm saying. You're responding to the energy behind my words. You're responding to the passion you can feel that I carry. And that's opening you to let the words in and make it relevant to you. So the question is, it's always been here and it's in every one of you. When we choose to give it our attention, come back to the core thing we started with today. What is your focus of attention? What is the meaning you're allowing it to activate inside of you? What is the curiosity that it activates on behalf of your clients? Will you courageously ask the question they're not asking themselves, but they're demonstrating to you in the way they're showing up with you? That is the somatic way. And so it's not, yes, you can learn the Aikido turn to allow the energy to go by you. There's a lot of abstract and conceptual ways to understand all of this. Okay, interesting. Look at your own life. When do you decide to get up and dance? Pay attention to the moment of choice. That will tell you something about your condition. You will pay attention to when you go to the gym. Do you go lift weights or do you get on the Stairmaster? Or do you get in the treadmill? Or do you go into the pool? What is it telling you you value? Where are you being respectful and honoring of this magnificent thing called the human body? Oh my gosh. No, there's a certain, my body is my temple, revere it.
Yeah, that's the core of our philosophy as well. So thank you so much for bringing our attention to that so beautifully. We'll try to be more in touch with our own bodies. Okay, so the first question is from Dr. Selvaraj. He says that it is typically joyful of, sorry, I just missed that question, but it is more around that the human nature is more around living a blissful life, right? But why do human beings always want to live in tension and strife?
What's the answer you all came up with in your discussion?
No, these questions are specific to
Yeah,
your
to
session.
you,
This did
for
not come
you.
up earlier, thankfully.
You haven't talked about it.
It's left
Ah.
for you.
It is specifically for you.
So take a few seconds. What's the answer you think I'm going to offer based on what you read in the book? Let's take a few seconds and just jot a couple of notes down before I answer the question. There are two core needs of humans as a mammal, an animal. It's part of the ecosystem called planet Earth. Other animals and mammals might have these two core needs, but we don't yet have the facility, most of us. There are some people who talk to plants and some people who talk to animals, but for the most part, human society does not know what other species on the planet require. But we do. We know what we require. Think about when a baby is born. What is happening? The baby's been inside of the woman's womb, held and connected by an umbilical cord and the sharing of the body for nourishment. They come out the birth canal into the hands of another human. And from those hands to the body, usually of both parents, but for sure of the woman, and then ultimately another woman or another man, whatever it might be. That's instinctive. We must be connected. Full stop. Not in a cognitive way, but at the body level, kinesthetically connection. We use words and experiences to help us recreate that intimacy. The second core need is to grow. And this is with us from the first breath we take, right? We're not in the amniotic fluid anymore. We take a breath. Some of us screamed. I don't know. Does anybody remember what you did when you came out of the birth canal? And we never lose that till we're done and we take our last breath. So, connection and the urge to grow, these are core to the human experience. How do we know who to connect with? And how do we know what growth step to take next? It's in the contrast. It's in the moment of tension in our experience when we say, I don't want this anymore. We have our first crush as a teenager. We aren't sure we're in love forever with our soulmates, who we see then having lunch with somebody else in the cafeteria 1 week later, and we're distraught, destroyed. Oh, I'll never love again. Well, it's just not true. But that longing that comes from the disappointment helps us to reawaken and open our heart and find the next person that we fall in love with. So it is in the perceptual contrast that we find what our deeper longing is. Do we always know how to listen to our heart and to listen to our spirit and our soul? No. Does our ego get in trouble every now and then and say, well, this must be it. I've earned my right to do this. Let's go. Only to be disappointed. So it's not that we pursue suffering. It's that when suffering occurs, we wake up and we go, oh, that's not for me. So if we can pull back from it for a moment and realize that horrific things happen in our lives, we are always part cause or agent of everything in our experience. How did I get born into this family, in this geography, in this time? Have you ever felt like you were out of time or out of sequence in time? In other words, I have knowing that comes from 100 years ago, or I have knowing that comes from 100 years into the future. I love thinking about the future and how that's gonna look. Yeah, makes me a little out of step with my folks who are like, "Can you just be right here, right now with me?" So, my point is, suffering is not the attention. It's that I am part cause or agent of my suffering. Now that's interesting. What awareness do I have? What choice did I make? What was it fulfilling? What was it longing for? And have I satisfied it by the experience that I'm having? All right, what's next? Life gets a lot easier when we can be in a little more acceptance of the experience we're having, remembering we chose it. Not always consciously, which means being a human has no destination. It demands our conscious, deliberate, intentional, wholehearted choicing in order to thrive.
Wow. I just took a pause to assimilate it all. It's so deep. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, Janet. I mean, I think, yeah, this is something that we will definitely look into, that what is this tension telling me about myself? That's the essence of it. If we look at it as a symptom. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I think we have just few more minutes, but I'll take one more question, and it is from Sutesh Balasubramaniam. What keeps transformation sustainable, either in individuals or groups?
Well, to answer it fully, we would want to have a conversation about the translation of transformation. And we don't have enough time for that. I think that's a lifetime of study, right? So, in whatever way you're holding the definition of transformation, I would say that it is always going on around us and in us and for us. So, it doesn't need sustaining. I think the question you're really asking is, what is the influence we can have on our experience of transformation so that it is pleasing, complementary, activating, maximizing, optimizing, whatever adjective you want to use, which is a desire to try to control it, which is crazy. We can't. What we have choice about is how we relate to it. It is always happening around us. People say to me all the time, it's like, oh, the world is going to end. Maybe. We don't know that. What will you be choosing on the pathway? What is the way you want to be with the transformation? There are things that are going to end. That's true. There are going to be new things that replace it. You know, for all of the species that are going extinct because of the way we're living on the planet right now, we're also seeing whole new species reemerge, emerge, and old ones reemerge. That's what I meant to say. So, what does that mean? Sustaining transformation. Transformation doesn't need us to sustain it. What it might be asking us to do is to pay attention to how to be in flow with it. There's a wonderful film. I don't know if it I hope it made it to India. It's called Finding Nemo. And there's a scene in Finding Nemo when Dory and Nemo meet the turtles. And the sea turtles are really cool, right? They kind of got that hippie vibe. And the moral to the story is get in the flow. You'll get to where you need to go. That's how I think about it.
Wow. So it's no need to, it's not as if we have got the transformation and then we have to hold on to it. It is just the continuous flow and we just have to be with that.
Yeah.
How beautiful. Thank you. So we are dot on time, and I think Shweta has a question where all one can learn about you and your upcoming programs, Janet.
Probably my LinkedIn and the Invite Change LinkedIn is the best place. You're always welcome to go to our website, invitechange.com, and sign up for the newsletter. Our CMO, Hamad Abdullah, does a really nice job of highlighting all the things that are happening. I do a lot of free events on purpose. I just think that it's very hard to find a place where you can do some of your own thinking. So I completely applaud that you all are doing this book club. This is exactly right, Subhash. Thinking, talking, writing, speaking, sharing, these are all part of that deep need for connection and the desire to grow. And when we convene, that's what happens. So the newsletter is a great way to learn that, as well as LinkedIn. That's my preference. I think they do some things on Facebook and Instagram, but I will confess, I counted the other day, there are 19 ways to get a hold of me. It's too many.
But I would still recommend the newsletter. Sign up for the newsletter. It's a fascinating read. Yeah. So there are some more questions. We leave that for now. We respect your time, Janet, and thank you once again for coming in. And I hope we hope to see you again in the near future. We'll get you back. Find an excuse. Hope to see
Well,
you.
it would be fun. I'd be delighted to do a part 2 when we can find a time
Yeah,
that works.
surely. Yes,
Cool.
definitely. Yeah. Thank you. Stay blessed. God bless. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Subhash.
Thank you, Subhash and Janet, and entire team actually. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. God bless you, Janet. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anupama. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sveta.
Thank you
Thank
from
you.
the
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you.
I don't want to leave till everyone leaves.
1 hour was not enough for sure.
Yeah. Truly
Yeah,
amazing.
I
Thank you so much.
just wanted to share this is my first kind of session, so thanks a lot. So
Ah,
I'll start reading more actually. So this is
good,
really helpful for me actually. Thank you.
good, good, good.
Thank you for joining. Bye, everyone.
Thank
Yeah.
you for inviting.